Mindpine, and welcome to Historic Weeks tonight with Mindpine 614520. Now, today we are going to be going back into River Valley civilizations, which are founded by the same 9 key elements that we talked about in the last episode. And to go over those, because I might have been wrong the first time, they first start out with flooding, which creates fertile soil, which then brings wild plants and animals to come all around all these areas. Then hunter-gatherers come and hunt all these plants and animals. Then they domesticate plants and animals by farming and helping animals for hunting. And then they learn how to use water to their advantage with irrigation. Then they get a food surplus, which then makes sure that no one else has to farm, but they can all do different things, which is a division of labor. And because of this, you have a lot of crime spikes, which creates government and then civilization. Now, today, we are going to go over a civilization in present-day Iraq and Syria in between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. It is called Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia is known for having the first farming system, known for one of the worst subjects in school, writing, and the one thing adults hate all the time, taxes, especially my uncle. So, now, let's get into one of the first civilizations that was founded in Mesopotamia, Sumer. This was founded in about 2650 BC with a leader known as Gilgamesh. You'll know from a poem, Epic of Gilgamesh. This Sumer consisted of the city-states like and Yerk, which were huge cities with big temples, and they were known for huge canal systems that were around everywhere, used for farming and to help with the river flooding. Thing was, the river flooded so much that it wasn't always on a timely basis. You could not time it. It was all random. Which is why people started believing that the gods kept on getting angry at them for certain things. And the people who could talk to the gods became the most powerful. So, priests, or whoever the person is in charge of your church. So, a priest. Anyway, Sumer was also known for, with its division of labor farming, it was known for farmers creating their own, farming their own food, then giving parts of it into supplies, so that way other people would get paid minimum wages in grains, so that way they could use it for food. That was their form of money then. And this, and Sumer was a really huge. It was a really small part of Mesopotamia that was all around. Think of it like a really large zit on the corner of your cheek. Not like I have any of those. So, anyway, when it came to this, in about 2334 BC, there was an enemy that attacked Sumer, and it was one of the first ever empires. The thing with an empire is that it's very diverse, and it's really hard to get everyone to work together because of how diverse it is. Let's go to the whiteboard. So, this is Sumer right here. It was really small, and Urk and Ur were on 2 different parts of the entire thing. And then there was something known as the Akkadian Empire, which started conquering all around here, and basically covered it. It was led by a man named Sargon the Great, also known as Sargon of Akkad, which founded the world's first empire, the Akkadian Empire, and ended up going to war with Sumer and conquering many of its city-states. And his reign lasted until 2279 BC, when the empire fell. But before him, the ruler of Naram Sin reigned since 2254 BC to 2218 BC, where he started the empire a little bit up north. But it was Sargon who started the war with Sumer, and when they claimed that their gods were the most powerful and they started taking over Sumerian lands, again, when it came to diverse populations, it started to lead to the end of the Akkadian Empire. And when this happened, the Sumerians went back to their original lifestyle, to the way it usually was. But then eventually, since it was the world's first ever civilization, it eventually had to fall. But then Mesopotamia ended up having a new civilization take place, and that was the Babylon Empire, which was originally led by Hammurabi. Hammurabi was the first person to write its written set of laws, and it was also the guy who sent Luke Skywalker to take down the Akkadian Empire. No, I'm kidding about that. I can't believe how many of you fell for that. So anyway, Hammurabi was the sixth king of Babylon, and he was also famous for establishing Hammurabi's Code, the first written set of laws in Mesopotamia. Because of this, he united all of it, and he helped with making sure crime was punished severely, made sure all people got minimum wages, and also helped with the first writing system, which probably took place beforehand. But with writing, they would document everything that they did was trade, because resources were really a real problem here. So they had to rely on trade. So they would write down what items they've traded for. And and the way they did this is with the stuff they had. They invented really revolutionary stuff that we think of useless here, like the wheel. And I shouldn't say useless. I mean not the most exciting. But back then it was revolutionary. It helped with farming. It helped with trade, and it helped with war. And the Babylon Empire was probably the most famous right now. You have a train station down in New York City to prove that. I'm not kidding. There's literally a station down there called Babylon. Wait, it's not in New York City. It's in Long Island. Man, I confused the two for some reason. Anyway, but the Babylon Empire lasted from 1792 BC to 562 BC, and it had three major leaders throughout the entire thing, and it faced many threats beforehand, like the Great Assyrian Empire, which was another one of the second empires ever around in history, and sadly, it's too big to to even show on the whiteboard. So how about we go to the map, to the world map. So the Tigris and Euphrates rivers are up here, and the Neo-Assyrian Empire, or just the Assyrian Empire, ended up starting here. It took almost all of this territory right here, and then eventually in 600 BC came down and conquered some of Egypt. When it did this, it became one of the strongest militaries in the world. It deported a bunch of people so that way they could try to forget their original history, and then they ended up making its own sort of religion. When it did that, its religion was on the basis of if you lost the battle, your entire civilization would be destroyed. And guess what happened to it? One of its cities was conquered, which then led to the end of the Assyrian Empire. So then eventually all that territory right there has basically been unoccupied. So basically ancient Mesopotamia was known for writing, farming, taxes, the curse word that almost every politician and adult likes to hear, and then also school. It was yes, it created schools for learning how to write. I'm pretty sure learning their history and all that sort of stuff. It was for the really rich elites who could afford all of that. So slaves and poors could not do that, even though they're the ones who were always getting taxed. And their taxes, I'm pretty sure, were their grains. And now, because of this, there have been huge problems with the miners wanting to have having any people from outside trying to conquer them. They were like, oh, hi guys, come on in, take over us. Except when it came to the Assyrians, when they were like, oh crap, we hate them more. So, anyway, now, in the next lesson of Historic Weeks today, we are going to be talking about a different area of a new river valley civilization, and that would be ancient Egypt, which then will eventually come down here to Sudan and then down to ancient Kush. All of this stuff was learned from middle school, social studies, and my own learning. So, hopefully, you found this more enjoyable than the first episode. I know I did. And, hopefully, you will subscribe down to the channel for more history lessons and more content. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next week.